Hello and welcome to episode 292 of the 77 Club. Harry, start with the socials.
We are the Wolves 77 Club on Facebook. We're at 77 Club Podcast on x.com. And we're on Spotify and YouTube. Please subscribe.
Jack Williams is here.
Hello, everybody.
And and for those watching on YouTube, please do give us your thoughts on Dan's big furry jumper.
I like this furry jumper. It's very warm. Good evening.
Suits you. Good evening. Right, Harry, let's start with FA Cup action. The magic of the Cup. Wolves 2, Blackburn 0. Vitor Pereira went pretty strong. Changing goal, Sam Johnston, and then you got Bueno, Agbadu, Totti Gomez, Rodrigo Gomez, João Gomez, Bellegarde, Semedo, Guedes, Cunha, and Hwang up front. Your thoughts on that starting 11 to begin with?
Yeah, I think we expected him to go strong, didn't we? I think the surprising one, I was quite surprised Santi started right centre back. I was glad Bellegarde kept his place. Cunha's maybe a semi-surprise. Some people, I've seen some people say they thought he might rest Cunha, but again, hats off to him. Strong team, a team that was obviously more than capable of beating Blackburn. And then when you see that they'd made 8 changes, you think, well, we've got to go and win this. And apart from a real big scare, the first 20 minutes from their goal that was given offside but wasn't actually offside. After that, for me, we cruised it and we won quite easily, and it could have been 3 or 4 or 5 really in the end.
Jack, what were your thoughts? I mean, it was I think a pretty accomplished display, and we got to see a couple of new signings in action as well. Well, one.
Yeah, it was an interesting one. I think the thing that surprised me just first out is how Blackburn seemed to be so not up for it, really. And I mean that in terms of A, attendance, and B, team selection. I know they've been on a bad run of form in the league, and I think they're just clinging on to their playoff place at the moment, or maybe like just one place out. So the focus obviously for them is clearly just the league. And if you can only get 15,000 for a cup game like that, I know it was a rubbish timing on the TV. When you think that 5,000 of those were Wolves fans, it's a bit of a poor show, really, I think. So usually if you're at home, I know we're not the most glamorous Premier League team by any stretch, but I was expecting a bit more there to try and like make the atmosphere a bit more, level the playing field a little bit. So that was a little bit surprising for me. So in terms of, I mean, a little bit of a shaky start. And I think, like Harry said, up until the point where they scored that goal, which was flagged offside, whether it was or not, we'll probably never know. I did see a video actually, which was kind of a video taken from the stands, from behind the linesman. And I'm not saying that he got the call right or anything, but from watching that video, I could see why he flagged. Is just a bit more reasonable, because obviously watching back on the telly, it looked like we got away with one, which we probably did. But yeah, from that point, we just sort of killed the game really with those 2 goals in quick succession in the first half, really. I don't think it was a brilliant first half performance. If anything, I think we played better in the second half, but didn't score, which is a bit of a weird one. But we really did just control the game and really did create some good chances, but just didn't find that clinical finish. But at certain points, we were just passing them to death, and really they struggled to create many clear-cut chances. So it was, despite a couple of moments towards the start of a little bit shaky, it was kind of an accomplished performance, and probably one you'd expect given the team sheets that we saw at the start of the game, where they made a load of changes. And despite us making 4 or 5 changes, we went strong again, didn't we? So.
Dan, we know that you love the Cup, you get nostalgic about it, you love your history as well. Just before I go on to the question about the game, do you know, obviously the last time Wolves played Blackburn in the FA Cup, Wolves won it 3-0. Do you know who started for Blackburn and became a Wolves legend?
Was it Derek Dougan?
It was Derek Dougan. That's very impressive. Very good. Anyway, about the game in 2025, what did you think about the offside, and what do you think of the magic of the Cup?
I always love the Cup. I think we've had a bit of a bad draw, haven't we? Bournemouth away. I'd have fancied anyone at home, but the only saving grace is 5th round. They might rest some players with a lot of games coming up in quick succession. That might be our only saving grace if we're going to go for it. The automated offsides, I don't know, all seems a bit convenient that Man United have got through, which would have been ruled out with the automatic offsides.
Yeah.
And now they're in.
That's really true. Yeah. Harry, Max says, no strong feeling. What I expected, did the job, though worried every time someone breathed on Cunha. Needed the momentum, really, and continued confidence for us in a way worth even more than progressing. What do you think about that? I mean, winning is something that we're not really used to this season. 2 in a row now. You'd probably say Blackburn you put down as a win normally, but it's actually good to get into that momentum, as Max says.
Yeah, 2 wins in a row as well. Obviously, after beating Villa. And again, I think the confidence is just high, isn't it? And particularly the performances from Agbadou and Toti Gomez the last few games, they're just looking so good now.
Yeah.
João Gomez was fantastic as well, coming back in. Rodrigo Gomez, all the Gomezes, all the triple threat. They all were brilliant. And talking of BBC iPlayer, Chris Sutton gave Cunha man of the match, but I thought that was such a lazy pick. On the day, for me, it was between the Gomezes, really, or Agbadou. I think I said João Gomez.
Unbelievable big brick shithouse, isn't he? I love him.
And that one move that went around on social media where he kind of like pirouetted out of the box past 2 Blackburn players just sums up how good he actually is. So yeah, we were good. We just cruised it, didn't we? Really, and it was a shame Manetzi didn't put one of his chances away, because that'd have been nice, wouldn't it? He should have had that trick, really. The amount of chances he had. Yeah, he looks good, man. He looks strong.
Jack, I just want to talk about the BBC coverage. I mean, Harry touched on it there. I mean, we're stuck on iPlayer at 12:30 on a Sunday. So, I mean, like you say, when you talk about non-Premier League glamour, that probably fits the bill in that instance. But what were your thoughts of the coverage? Because I really didn't think it was up to scratch at all.
Well, as being as it's quite hard to find before it starts, and then you finally get it on, and the first thing you see is it says bloody Strand Larson is playing left back. It's you kind of question it straight away, because that was a bit weird. But it was nice that it was on TV. But yeah, overall, I agree with what Harry said about the man of the match. I think every Wolves fan who's watching that game, as soon as they called Cunha out, it was it Chris Sutton? Who was it? Who was the co-commentator? Every Wolves fan was just like, no, you've just done that. Fair enough, he scored, but you've just done that because you're drawn to the fact that he's got this sort of aura around him as being our main man. Because on the day, like Harry said, the 2 Gomezes were better. Toti was better. Agbadou was better. And, Cunha was there's probably a few other players in front of Cunha before then, really, because there were spells where he was looking a bit uninterested again. But so, yeah, it's kind of just that. And I suppose it's what you get, the sort of standard that you get with these, when you're getting this terrestrial coverage and sort of a broadcaster that isn't used to having this many games maybe over the course of a weekend. It's just for the cup games, isn't it, really? It's not a regular thing for league football or Champions League football. So yeah, not particularly overly impressed, but at least it was on TV, and it wasn't this time only being broadcast in Taiwan, and we couldn't watch it officially. So
it's a bit of a weird one, though, isn't it, Bayliss? Because for Match of the Day, certainly, the BBC have to provide live commentary for every single game. So it wasn't like they were sort of short. It was just seemed like it was well prepared. But I'll bring Jack in there first.
Just to jump in on that, the problem is, and this is the one thing that really winds me up about watching Match of the Day, and you can tell it once you know it happens. They put the commentary on after. It's not live commentary. They put it on afterwards. It's not. No, when you watch on Match of the Day, no, it 100% can't be.
It is.
They definitely dubbed some stuff in.
It's definitely not.
I was listening to the West's Entertainment podcast, and Richard Osman was asked this exact question. He says they have to provide live commentary because exactly for the reason you say. But you're saying that it sounds like it's not real. Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is they must edit it afterwards. Then
they redo lines, definitely.
Yeah, definitely, because it's kind of like it's too perfect. It's like, oh, well, it would be really weird if they score a really intricate goal from this corner now and he heads it in the top corner, and then it happens. It's kind of like
that. You know what? Funnily enough, Jack, I remember years ago when I went on a club coach with Wolves to a game, and they were showing the previous highlights, and it was the edit of someone who's like doing Match of the Day, and they do live commentary, like Sam said, but they're not as on it. And they do. You could hear them speaking to their producer, and they were like, "Scott, should I just re-say that bit when Cunha's running towards goal, or should I?" So you are right. You're both right, basically. Yeah. They do live commentary, but when they think they've missed something, they do add bits in for the final edit. So you're both right. I don't know how we've got onto this subject, but you are both right.
Sorry, I got waylaid a little bit there. Dan, shout out to the goalkeeper. It's difficult coming in from the cold like that and sort of stepping up. He made some really, really important saves, Sam Johnson. And I think it just shows that having that competition is getting the best out of both of them, to be fair, him and Sar.
Yeah, I'm sure Johnson will get fed up eventually, but he did his job and he's going to be the cup goalkeeper, but I guess he'd probably want a little bit more than that for his career. So I don't know how long he's going to stay here, but he did his job well. And hopefully Pereira stays as strong all the way through this FA Cup run. How many games have we got to play in the league before the next FA Cup?
We've got Bournemouth 2 weeks in a row, haven't we? We've got Liverpool away, Bournemouth away, Fulham at home, and then Bournemouth away again. So 2 Saturdays in a row, Bournemouth away.
It's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? Because that happened with Brighton last year, didn't it?
Yeah.
Weirdly. Jack,
it's quite unlucky that I know we've had 2 championship teams in the first 2 rounds, so we can't complain too much. We've had 3 away ties now in a row. That's pretty unlucky, isn't it, really? So hopefully if we do get past Bournemouth, which let's be honest is going to be the toughest one so far, surely we're due the home tie for the quarterfinal. Shame we can't get Coventry, but
we split opinion, didn't we, Harry, and on the group chats? You thought you don't really want to play Bournemouth because they'll be. What did you say? They'd be going for the cup, and I said they'd be concentrating on the league.
Yeah,
just explain what you meant.
Well, yeah, it's funny. We both put it at the same time. You said, "Oh, they'll rest players. Don't worry, they'll want to push up the league." And I was like, "No. Where they are in the league is why they'll go strong in the cup." So hopefully you're right. I'm hoping you're right, and then they rest players. But then at the same time, the position we're in, unless we beat them, ironically, or Fulham, or get a decent result against Liverpool, if we go into that cup game against Bournemouth and we're back in the bottom 3 for argument's sake, then we might go a little bit weaker than we have in the previous rounds, because around the times we've played Bristol and Blackburn the previous rounds, we've come off a decent result, haven't we? Or we're doing okay kind of thing, and we've got enough space in between fixtures. But there's going to be a bit of a fixture clog building up to this next round with playing Fulham in the week before it. So yeah, but I do think low key, if we're going to be talking about that game just briefly, I think if we play our strongest team, I think we could go there and beat them. I do. I know they're playing well. I know they've been amazing this year, Bournemouth, but I really do fancy us to go there and win if we're up for it, the way we've been playing. So maybe that's just me getting carried away because we've won 2 in a row, and I'll probably have a different attitude in a few games' time. But yeah, I thought we've been professional, and the performance against Villa, things are looking up slightly, I think. Vitor's quite sorted out.
5 p.m. on Sunday, Harry. How you feel about that?
Yeah.
Jack, what do you reckon?
I think it will be a tough one. Yeah, I mean, what you find, and this is probably just the way I seem to remember things probably more than the actual truth, is when you have 2 games like this in quick succession, a cup game and a league game, it's not unusual for one team to win one and the other team to win the other. Like it's a bit of a strange one, isn't it? I know there's obviously be chopping and changing with the teams and everything. So I don't know, which would you rather win? Is my question.
Cup. I think cup as well.
I think the way in the league isn't a targetable win, really. But
we're still in the shit on paper at the moment. I know we've won 1 game against Villa, and we've only got 2 points grace. And if anything, now there's a mini league at the bottom which just has 4 teams in it, which we're currently top of.
You are right.
So I think in this situation you have to go just with your head over your heart and say, we'll bank the 3 points, because that's probably the most important thing in terms of staying up this season. But if we were in Everton or West Ham's position, I'd probably be saying, yeah, let's just take the pass through the cup.
It's strange, isn't it? Because that was exactly what happened with the semi-final against Watford, which I don't like to talk about, obviously. So the next round, by all accounts, semi-automated offside technology will be used in English domestic football for the first time during the 5th round of the FA Cup. So it was today, I think it was announced that technology will be used in the 7 games taking place at Premier League stadiums. The system aims to remove some elements of human subjectivity by replacing decisions made by officials with automated ones taken by technology. As things stand, when a player scores after a borderline offside situation, officials in the VAR room must decide on 3 key things: when the ball was kicked, where and at what angle the defender's body was when the ball was kicked, and where and what angle the attacker's body was. Baelish is shaking your head in disbelief. Are the robots taking over, or is it time that the AI did us all a favour?
Oh, I wouldn't mind if we didn't have to talk about it so much. If it just did it in the background and it was right, then there's no problem with it. But the fact we're now going to waste 5 minutes talking about a load of idiots sat in a shed at Stockley Park, they can get fucked.
Did anybody see the offside in the Champions League, Man City, Real Madrid? They've got automated offside in that Champions League, and Haaland scored, and it was so tight. Like, the automated offside couldn't judge it, and it took about 6 minutes to give the goal.
Oh, really?
And it really ruined the game. Yeah, it was a great game, 3-2 Bellingham, obviously last minute, but Haaland put them 1-0 up, and it's hard to explain it unless you saw it, but the ball went over the top, and kind of like Haaland and the person who's chested it to him was stood in an offside position, but Haaland was like level with him. So they were trying to work out whether Haaland was slightly in front of play, if you get what I mean. And it took so long, and eventually they did give it. But automated offsides is not perfect, because situations like that, when it's extremely close, they go back to just go with what Stockley Park or whoever's in the box wants to say. So
I think if it's that close, and they can't make a definitive decision, the goal stands.
Yeah,
or else we're going to have a game 0-0 all the time.
I think they give up. I think that's what happened in this Champions League game. They just give up and just give it in the end, because it was like so close.
It's a bit stupid, isn't it? Because we call it the beautiful game, but it's becoming so scientific that the art is being lost from it, isn't it, Jack? I mean, you'd think this is just not what it was for.
Yeah, but if you're going to do it, I think do it properly. And I think we've sort of said before, I think the way forward with this and to remove all the bias and subjectivity is just to have computers do it rather than people, because you're always going to have these situations. I know this is just for offsides, but that there is definite pressure, and we've had it against us for decisions to go for big teams and not for other ones. But if you've got a computer looking at it, which doesn't know anything about the club's history or fan base or the colour of their shirts or whatever, and just judges it based on the rules it's been told, I think it will ultimately be fairer for everybody. That's not necessarily what the Premier League wants, though. So let's just take that with a pinch of salt. But I think with offsides, yeah, I agree. It worked well at the World Cup. Everyone saw the pictures within about a minute. You couldn't really complain. So I think it's fine, and I agree. There needs to be a margin of error where if the computer says, look, I'm not 100% sure about this, that rather than like what referees do, just say they've got it right and stick to it, they should say, look, I can't make a call here, so we either have to give the benefit of the doubt, ideally to the attacking team, so you're not ruling out too many goals. So I think that's perfectly fair enough, because it is there. The officials still need to do their jobs. And I think that's kind of, I have a suspicion that's what happened in the Man United game, is that the officials kind of temporarily forgot that you still have to flag, because they're so reliant on VAR now and told to keep the flag down, that in that situation, he just bottled putting the flag up, because his decision is now definitive, that he thought, well, it's Old Trafford, 93rd minute, I'm not risking this one. I'm just gonna stand there, and thinking that VAR would bail him out. But obviously forgot that, because when you watch it back and you watch where he's watching it from, it's ridiculous that he's not flagged for that, because he was clearly offside by a mile. So
Jack,
go on, sorry, Baelish, go on.
So do you really think it'd be better to just have two sets of runners down either side of the pitch with a camera on, just going back and forth?
Yeah. It wouldn't be runners. I think you could set it up in a way where it's a fixed thing, but just have it like the goal line thing,
like tracks.
Have the ref still ref in the game, and then like his watch when it goes over the line for a goal. If there was an offside in that build up of play, his wrist buzzes.
Yeah, but what league? It'd only be the Premier League, wouldn't it? Because on Sunday League, you still have to have line burn. It's money, isn't it? Just on the offside, they had Mark Clattenburg as back to that Real Madrid game. Sorry if you didn't watch it, but they had Mark Clattenburg as the special guest referee, as in, if there's a bad decision, they went to him. He was really good. He was better than the usual idiots they have on the other programs. And there was one situation where you're on about flagging. Ball went over the top, kept his flag down. He was about a mile offside. I think it was Mbappe, and he went round the keeper, and he could have got injured. Like Clattenburg was saying, why don't the linesman just flag there? Because if he'd have carried on there, snapped his leg, and everyone knew he was offside, but the refs are told not to flag straight away. So situations like it's just absolutely stupid. They should just do it like they used to, and then bring in the VAR after.
Completely agree with that. And also, we on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, we sort of gave a plug to the Chorley away days tweet. Apparently 600 Wolves fans
Wow.
made use of that. So it looks like I had a great time. So well done if you made your way and stopped off for that. Let's move on to Premier League action now, Harry. Liverpool, hot off the back of a very dramatic end to the last Merseyside derby to be played at Goodison Park. 95th, 6th, 7th, 8th minute equaliser. There seems to be something about Everton defenders absolutely steam ratting it in that derby. It looks like Arne Slot will probably not be on the sidelines, although Liverpool will probably going to appeal the 2-game ban that he looks to have had. It looks like Curtis Jones also got sent off after the final whistle as well, after reacting to Doucouré, giving him a bit of mouth after the final whistle. Do you think that will make a difference? And what do you reckon the starting 11 will be for this one?
Well, I don't think Curtis Jones starts, does he? So they won't miss him. He did come on, though. Don't think it makes too much of a difference, does it? Slot not being on the sideline, really. I mean, I'm just glad they played that game because, a lot of emotion in it, wasn't there? Might have took a lot out of them, and that would be good for us. And they showed a little bit of vulnerability because Everton haven't been great this season, and they conceded 2 goals, obviously, against Everton. And so that's good for us. On our team, it's interesting because Vitor will do his press conference on Friday, so we don't know the fitness of Hwang Hee-chan because he went off injured, didn't he? First half against Blackburn. I thought he did all right, actually. He got an assist and was heavily involved in Cunha's goal. Strand Larsen, again, don't know if he'll be back. But for me, I actually wouldn't start any of them 2 anyway, even if they were fit. I'd keep Guedes for the middle and Sarabia out on the right. I never thought I'd be saying that a few months ago because I've never been the biggest fan. But he's played well against Villa, so deserves his place. And then it's just a debate of whether you play Andre and João Gomez in the middle and drop Bellegarde because you're away at Anfield. I personally would do that. I'd have Andre and Gomez in there, bring Gomez back in after his suspension. Back 3 pretty much picks itself, doesn't it? Doc, Agbadou in the middle, Totti on the left, with Aït-Nouri and Semedo as wing-backs. And we've got to make the most of Semedo and Sarabia because it looks like they'll be gone in the summer.
We'll get onto that later on. Jack, is it harsh on Bellegarde to be dropped, or is that, like Harry says, really a game for João Gomez?
Is it harsh on him? Yes, probably, considering how good he was against Villa. But yeah, I can see it happening as well. Kind of just going back to Gomez and Andre. But we'll see. We'll see what Pereira thinks. I mean, it's as difficult as they come in it. This fixture, it's Liverpool away. I know performances have been better recently, but definitely better under Pereira. And I know we're coming off the back of back-to-back wins, albeit one in the cup against lower league opposition. So I think just go there, play without any fear, and try and make a good account for yourself, really. But keep it tight early on would be my instructions because they've had a bit of a bump in the road midweek, haven't they? And that will hurt them. I didn't watch the whole Liverpool game, but I saw the Everton's equalising goal and their defending left a lot to be desired. So, maybe there is hope there. But we will see. I mean, I'm not confident though. You can't be that confident on paper and just look at the seasons that the 2 respective teams have had. But this is not a game where we're particularly looking to get points from, is it? So,
Is that because of the last 16 times we played Liverpool in the league, we have lost 15 times? Do you think that's anything to do with it?
Not even that. I was just thinking about how they've been great this season. We've been crap.
Well, there is that. What do you reckon, Dan? A game for Rodrigo Gomez. A lot of love for him over the weekend. Puts in a shift every single time. Great little player. A potential replacement for Aït-Nouri. There's also been some rumblings that Menezes could possibly play with Andre and João Gomez in the midfield 3. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I think Rodrigo Gomez is a very capable, good young talent. The right back situation worries me a bit more because Semedo's become a bit of a stalwart in the team. Liverpool didn't look that great against Everton, so optimistic me is saying we can go and snatch a result there.
What does a good result look like? Like a corner,
a 1-1 draw or something. A shit house in the last minute to make it 1-1.
Harry, what are your thoughts? I mean, there was a lot of love for Menezes, and do you think they could play together, Andre, Gomez, and him?
I I think that goes against Vitor Pereira's lineup, though, doesn't it? He said he wants to have an identity. He wants to stay with the same formation every week. So I don't. He came on up front, didn't he, against Blackburn, which was really weird. He come on for Guedes, and that's why he had all them chances. He did drop deep a bit. I could see it working if you had Cunha and Guedes more narrow, and like you say, sit him in behind them two and in front of Andre and Gomez. I could see that working, but I don't think we'll see that Sunday. Maybe in the future at some point. I do like the look of him though. He does look good. And just on the fixture at Molineux, and we lost 2-1. If you think back to that day, we were out in a bad spell at the time, and they didn't batter us, did they? They only beat us 2-1. We got the equaliser from Aït-Nouri, and they got the quick penalty after. So we've shown that day we can hang with them a bit. And as we've said, the Everton game, I'm like Bayliss. I've got a really weird feeling we're going to do something this game. I don't know why, because it's Liverpool away.
Liverpool 7,
maybe,
Wolves 0.
Yeah. Maybe do what Mick McCarthy did back in the day with Stephen Ward. Put our left back up front. So put Aït-Nouri up front. He might toe poke a winner in. There we go.
Seems a long time ago, doesn't it? 2010. Jack, score prediction?
3-0 Liverpool.
Yeah. Come on.
Bayliss, are you sticking with your 1-1?
I'll be more optimistic and go 2-1 Wolves.
Harry?
Boy answer. Deborah the Zebra. Harry, will you go back on the booze if we win the FA Cup? Deborah the Zebra, I would die from alcohol poisoning if we win the FA Cup. Bailey said the score, I think, earlier. I think we're going to sneak a 1-1. I've got a good feeling. I think we're going to sneak a 1-1 there. Let's go with that.
I'm going to feed into the positivity too and say a 2-1 win, a historic win in 15 years at Anfield. Just before we move on to Bayliss, who has some bets, what do these teams have in common? Harrogate, Cheltenham, Wigan, Orient, Burton, West Brom, Oxford, and Wolves.
I think I've seen this online. Is it that they haven't had a penalty given to them?
Haven't had a penalty given this season.
There we go then.
Weird, isn't it? I mean, it just shows how much we hang about in the box, I suppose, and how much we don't get in decisions. But yeah, no penalty this season. So we were hoping for one on the weekend. Bayliss, give me some odds.
Yeah, I've only got a couple this week, but as you can imagine, the market for anything Wolves related is huge. Little sort of 10-1 bet builder I like the look of. Both teams to score, yes. Cunha to have one or more shots on target. Gomez to commit one or more fouls in each half. Yep. And over 8.5 Liverpool corners.
Oh, well, that might, yeah, okay.
And then I've got two scorecasts, and you can just see where the betting markets are here.
What the odds?
Diogo Jota to get the first goal. 3-0
yeah, what were the
Liverpool.
odds for that Dan, for the previous one? I don't think you said the
What
odds.
was the odds?
10
10 to 1. I was going to say. I was waiting for you to say, yeah. 10 to 1.
Jota first goal. 3-0 Liverpool is about 30s.
He'd be on the bench, wouldn't he? Jota?
I've just
came on
around him because Salah was so short.
He is quite short. He's about 5'5", isn't he? Something like that.
Very good. 2-1 Wolves. Cunha first goal is
bloody house. 150 to 1.
Good guess that. 185 to 1.
Bloody hell, really? God, that's
got us winning for a start, so the odds will be.
Well, that's very true. Perfect. Okay, thank you for that. Let's have a look at Cunha actually, and a couple of others that are looking at contract situations or not being part of the plans at all. Let's start with Cunha. Harry, it looks like he's got a £62.5 million release clause, and that is regardless of relegation. It's well below probably what we were saying a couple of weeks ago before he signed that new deal. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I believe he's worth £80 million plus. I know it's 75 million euros, like you say, £62 million contract release clause. And I thought they'd do like a double whammy, like a relegation release and just like a normal release. But it looks like it's just the 62.5 million, which I guess would work really well in our favour if we went down. Because if we didn't have a release clause in there, clubs would be trying to get him for like 45 million, wouldn't they? Something like that. So. But it's just a shame because I think he's going. You could tell by the way he was speaking in his interview after he signed the contract that he did with Wolves. He was just like, yeah, doing you a favour. See you in a bit. I'm going in the summer. It's, he's got his own way really, hasn't he? And he's obviously held out all through the January window. There's all that speculation. And yeah, I think the club, if you're to believe reports, Jeff and that just wanted to reward him for his first half of the season, how good he's been. And then it's kind of backfired a little bit because he's just negotiated his way into getting that release clause in there, and he'll be gone. He'll be gone in the summer. And I think we'll be getting £20 million less than we should be getting if he goes for 62.5 million. But there we go. We're a feeder club, aren't we? We're a stepping stone. That's what we are.
What do you reckon, Jack? 62.5 million quid, around the 15, 16, maybe 17 million more than we paid for him.
It's good business when you look at it like that, I suppose. But I mean, based on his performances the last month, he's not worth bloody 10% of that. So, but we know he can be. That's unfair. That's unfair. We know he can be. Yeah, I mean, just because that's the release clause, that's just the amount that means they can start having the conversation, doesn't it? So it doesn't necessarily mean that's what it will go for. I'm sure we'd potentially be able to squeeze a couple of extra million out there. So
there'll be more than one club, I imagine, being interested in his signature.
Exactly. So that's helpful in the fact that there's going to be interest, like there was in January, if you believe everything you read on Twitter and the papers. There were multiple clubs keeping tabs, so there's a potential of starting a bidding war. We could get 70 million, could get 75, which sounds a bit better, doesn't it? So
how's that work though? Because they'll all offer 62.5 million, and Cunha will just pick who he wants to go to.
Good point.
Well, no,
we can't tell.
We don't.
If Arsenal offer 70 million, but Forest and Man United offer 60.5, we can't say, Cunha, you're only going to Arsenal. You got no choice. He could pick the other two.
Well, do we have to accept the offer, even if it's just a release clause?
Yeah, got it. You can't. Okay. It's got to be done. Got to be accepted.
Yeah. Even if you got multiple offers on the table, you have to accept.
If you've got multiple offers on the table, it's up to Cunha then. But if Arsenal offered 80 million and Forest offered 62.5, if he wanted to go to Forest, we'd have to accept Forest.
Right. I think the same as you say, Jack, because you said it on the group and you said, I'll fucking give up on football if he goes to Forest. And
if he goes to Forest, then I'm done. Like, it's just
that getting clipped up in about May. Excellent. So that's him. Let's have a look at Craig Dawson, Bayliss. Not in the plans at all, been left out of the 25-man squad as well. Clearly rates De Giga, the new man that's come in.
Yeah. Sounds like they're going to just rip his contract up, aren't they, on mutual terms? So I'm sure he'll find somewhere as a free agent pretty quickly. He did his job brilliantly for us, didn't he? So fair play to him.
Really weird, isn't it?
Get some football,
Harry, because you're sort of looking at the cohort of players that came in that January transfer window under Lopetegui, and obviously Lemina's gone to Galatasaray. Craig Dawson would rip up his own contract, but he'd probably break his wrist in the process. As Bailey says, sort of did the job. Thanks very much. Probably a bit of a shame it's ended this way, and almost shines a little bit of light on the potential Cody swap.
Yeah, well, I said in that last podcast that there was rumours going around that Dawson did not get on with Vitor Pereira and that he'd had a bust up with Lemina in a hotel. They were the rumours, and I think they're probably true. Because why is Vitor? He's a homegrown player, so we can just have him. We can't get him out the squad and bring Sasa Kalajic back in. Like, it's crazy that we ain't kept him around. So there must have been something real bad that's gone down behind the scenes, because it just does not make sense logically in terms of the squad. And he would be good there, even if he's fifth choice centre back. Keep him round. And the Cody story obviously makes more sense now as well. But he's going to rip his contract up because he'll probably want to move somewhere in England and somewhere near the Midlands. And it's a bit of a mad one. I was shocked, but at the same time, I weren't too shocked because, as I said, I heard the rumours that Vitor just did not get on with him one bit. And it's a shame, really, because he hasn't been the same since his injury. And yeah, if you'd have said that was going to happen when Vitor came in, I wouldn't have believed you. I still thought Dawson would have been one of his main defenders, to be honest.
What do you reckon, Jack?
Just a sad state of affairs, really. I mean, if you think the rumours are true about him being part of the bust up with Lemina, that it could be the fact that Vitor just wants both the divisive characters out of the dressing room, because it's inevitable that players would have taken one player's side, others would have taken Dawson's side most likely. So maybe he's just decided to just cut ties with that. But it's a shame, because I still think a fully fit Dawson would definitely have something to offer to us. I know he's not been the same since he had his surgery in the summer, like you guys have said. But I wouldn't be surprised if he does end up going to a championship club or something and doing really, really well, or maybe even a Premier League club would be interested. That sort of just comes up or something. But I think because of the reason he came to us, it would have to be the Midlands. Could be Albion or Stoke or someone, couldn't it? To be honest, I reckon they'd be more than interested.
Neil
So,
saying that's while he's under contract, Neil. If they did terminate his contract, then he could, I believe, unless you tell us differently.
Did you do a video on it?
I did speak about it in one of my 70 videos I've done this month. Yeah.
Let's have a look at Nelson Semedo. Trevor says, how the hell do we let Nelson's contract get to this point? He's going to be off back to Portugal for sure. Stephen says, I'm not sure Semedo will be part of Wolves going forward, especially with the uncertainty of Premier League status. Harry's out of contract in the summer. He can sign pre-contract agreements with whoever he likes. It looks like, according to some sources, notably Liam Keane at the Express and Star, saying that it's outside of the wage structure. Just explain that one to me, because it doesn't really make sense, because unless it all weighs on Doc and Pedro Lima next season, you're going to have to buy a right back, I imagine, which sort of puts the wage structure thing into disarray almost, because you've got to spend money with one hand and try and save it with the other.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell that is. Obviously, Sarabia is another one, and they're both on, if you're to believe websites and that, they're both, well, Semedo's on 80 grand a week and Sarabia's on 90 grand a week, and Sarabia was our highest paid player before Cunha signed this contract a few weeks ago. I have done a video on it, by the way.
Never.
So Semedo's going to go. I thought they'd keep Semedo, and I think he wants to. And I think the club would want to keep him. But yeah, as you said, Liam Keane has been saying that we just haven't got the money to give him, really. He's on too much money, too much wages, and crazy. Club captain, again, like you've said, Sam, the last few weeks, we always lose our captains, don't we? They always seem to become captain, then we lose them. And I get the Sarabia one. They're both on the wrong side of 30, but we have got Pedro Lima, like Rodrigo Gomez, two young lads coming through who could play right wing back. But yeah, for me, I'd keep Semedo, and it's a shame that he's going to go. And I think he'd want to stay. Like I've said, he's been here 5 years now. He seems very settled. He lives right in the heart of Wolverhampton, I think, or Tetnall way. So I think his kids that grew up here. So it's a shame. It's a shame, and it's just tight ass Jeff Shee, isn't it? Not wanting to put the wage budget up to get players like that to stay.
I think it's also just more like, his wage for his original contracts was probably negotiated in that time where Jeff Shee thought we were going to win the league in about 2 seasons, so we're paying loads of money. But also, you can't sort of say to a player, 5 years of great service, you've done really well overall. Here's a pay cut. It's not very doesn't leave a very nice taste in the mouth, does it? So at the same time, Semedo's probably got like one decent contract left in his career, and so if we're only going to offer him a year and he can go somewhere else and get 2 or 3 years on similar sort of wages, whether that be in Saudi Arabia or America or back in Portugal or Spain, he's got to take it, and just for his own personal retirement fund. So I'll be sad to see him go. It's a risk because our squad never seems to be that full of experience, and he is one of our most experienced players, not just by age, but by Premier League experience, which means a lot.
You ain't going to be as sad as Bayless. Bayless loves him.
I think he's been superb the last 3 seasons.
Yeah.
Absolutely superb.
What, the first few?
Yeah, terrible. As a senior player, it's strange that we're just letting him disappear. But I mean, you've got to hope that the manager has got the decision making at his fingertips and can shape a squad how he wants to. I fear that definitely isn't the case, but see what happens in the summer.
Neil says Semedo will go. WWFC Jonas says I can definitely see Agbadu being captain next season. Yeah, that's good. But I'm really conscious about who we make captain because they'll be sold next summer. So that's the drawback of that. But like Jack says, leadership qualities within that squad, you just don't know at the moment. But Premier League experience, really, really important as well. Let's move on finally to the 2034 World Cup. I'm going to open with Jack here because you reckon it's a disgrace because Qatar and Saudi Arabia are next to each other. Why are they being held so close together?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that so far it looks like Saudi is going to be completely dry. I know there were ways around it with regards to like drinking in hotels and stuff in Qatar, and they've relaxed the rules, didn't they? But
Yes.
the fact that we've got a World Cup that's completely dry, it doesn't ring well with a lot of sort of football culture. But we had the same things for Qatar, whatever. The thing that just really winds me up, and I don't know how much we talked about this at the time when it was announced, it went a little bit under the radar, is the fact that I'm nothing against having a World Cup in the Middle East. I think that's perfectly fine, and it was probably the time to do it. I think Saudi Arabia should have had it first because they're the team that from the Middle East which qualifies most consistently, rather than Qatar. But then to have two in the space of 12 years, it just stinks for me. And I just sort of just thinking about it, and I was thinking that there's places that Australia is the main continent that isn't full of penguins, that hasn't hosted a World Cup yet. It's the only one left that hasn't. And so you're thinking like, well, why didn't they? And looking back, they were going to put a bid in for this one, and they pulled out last minute. And the reason for that was they spent $50 million on the bid that Qatar eventually won, and they didn't get a single vote. So they put in all that money and all that time, and they ended up just not even getting any recognition at all, basically. It was a single vote or one vote, I can't remember. So when it came around to this bidding thing again, and we're thinking, well, this is the continent that hasn't had one, they'll be favourites. They removed their bid because they said, look, we can't afford to spend all this money again just to then lose to an Arab nation that's bribed everybody and go around in the circles again. And that's exactly what happened. So it's just, my concern with this, and this is now a pattern, is the fact that is it just going to be a case now, rather than thinking about the World Cup and getting it into new areas, whether that be Africa or Australia, and making it a real world thing where you go and experience a different part of the world and culture every 4 years and move around with that it just goes to the case of now which country has the most oil and the biggest wallet, and they'll just keep hosting it. And that's the thing that just really just grates on me. So
Saudi Arabian culture is not drinking.
Nothing says culture like 10 billion square miles of sand and beheadings. So
that's good. I knew he was going to say something that would probably get us cancelled. So I mean, Harry, the ambassador, I think it was, said that rather like our weather, it's a dry country. Quite a nice line, obviously. What do you reckon? Because obviously your stance on drinking has changed somewhat in the last 12 months anyway. Do you think it's something where countries should be sort of changing their culture to allow for people like Jack to come in and get absolutely battered and get lost in the desert?
I think, you've got to cut down on hooligans like Jack causing trouble in foreign countries. I'm with Saudi, to be honest. No, it's all corrupt as fuck, isn't it? Let's be honest. It's all money. Qatar and Saudis have paid for it. Brown envelopes, bribing, corrupt, all of it, allegedly, in case they find me and behead me as well. No, I don't bother. It's just crazy. I'd prefer it to be in a European country again, but it is the World Cup, or not just a European country, obviously anywhere, but they can't keep hogging it, can they now? They all seem to win the bid.
You could name 40, 50 countries that would be a better host than Saudi Arabia or Qatar.
And the heat as well. Is it going to be moved? It ain't November again, is it?
Probably.
Might be.
It'll have to be. It is next door to Qatar. It's the same place. Yeah. Like, it is the same. And this is also, it's not consistent with FIFA's new approach of, we want to put it across 2 or 3 countries. No, it's just Qatar, just Saudi Arabia. But then when it's Spain, Portugal and Morocco, they have to share it. But these 2 countries that are literally the same bloody desert, they can have one each. It's just bollocks, isn't it?
It isn't it? Yeah. Canada, US and Mexico. An interview with LBC, Prince Khalid bin Bandar Al Saud said alcohol would not be sold anywhere during the tournament, including in hotels.
You know what? It's affected boxing. I know we talk about boxing a bit, don't we? Like the Saudis have dominated that, like Riyadh season. The atmosphere at the boxing's dead as a doornail, isn't it? I know, to be fair, that Qatar one, it looked good, didn't it? The atmosphere. Especially when Saudi Arabia won, ironically, when they beat Argentina. But it's much better. Look, I've stopped. Well, I don't drink as much as I used to. But it is much better when everyone's pissed up in the stands and that.
100%.
Yeah.
Beer gardens.
Yeah, beer gardens. I know it's against their religion, though, isn't it? It's against their religious beliefs.
Yeah, but
I guess.
I think
it's a hard one.
Prince Khalid said, "Plenty of fun can be had without alcohol." I mean, somebody who's never drunk
Yeah.
would obviously say that, but I mean, like, he's just wrong.
It makes you do 70 YouTube videos a day.
You're raking it in. Think of all the Guinness zeros you could buy. Excellent. Right. Okay. Well, we'll leave it there for another week. Best of luck if you're making your way to Anfield on Sunday. We'll say goodbye to Harry Mansell.
Goodbye.
Jack Williams.
Goodbye, everybody.
And Dan Bayliss.
Goodbye.
And it is a goodbye from me.